Kindred has just been put on the PBE and it's time for some Kindred content. So after this video you'll know everything you need to know about this champion. So I have two gameplays for today. Number one from WildRift tier OVO and number two from Canserole. Or Casserole. I don't really know how to pronounce it, so beg my pardon. But all of them will be linked in the description below. Firstly, here is something that is very peculiar, because on PC you would always start with your second ability on Kindred. The second ability will just help you the most. Let me put this away. The second ability will help you clear the jungle in the easiest fashion because it deals so much damage. There's also another thing that I was thinking about earlier when we talked about Kindred and how to make this champion more viable for the jungle role. It's making a second ability deal AoE splash damage, since it's quote-unquote a melee thing. So, what we are going to see right now with the wolf spawning, you see a lot of numbers, which means wolf is in fact dealing AoE damage. It also reduces your first ability's cooldown, and we'll talk about the abilities instantly after this first gameplay. So, after consuming this first gameplay, we'll take a look at the abilities and talk about the mark logic, so you understand how the champion works. And then we'll take a look at another gameplay, which I've mentioned earlier. And yeah, you'll just let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you like this type of content, how you like this kind of champion, and if you're looking forward to having Kindred in the game. So far we see that she has cleared 4 camps now in 1 and 18, allowing her to effectively use her first ability to jump over walls, and then using a third ability as an execute to kill people. Interesting. Now, the first mark spawns on the Scuttle Crab, which is always going to be the case. The first mark will always spawn on a Scuttle Crab. Ooh, flashing forward, wanting to dead this lovely crab here. Keep in mind, these games should be bot games, but it's just about showcasing what this champion can do. And her third ability does even more damage when the enemy is low HP. And you see the second ability's range is enormous. That looks so massive. Her first ability is also an auto-attack reset, making it a lot harder for the enemy to fight you when it comes to dealing damage, since you have so much bonus damage. And not only this, all your abilities scale with your mark count. So you'll have some crazy time seeing this champion go absolutely bonkers. The only thing that's kind of weird is, wait, did she... Wait, hold up. Okay, distractor, okay, I was very much concerned for a second. And I was really afraid, but luckily, it is in fact, she had to personally mark this target, okay. And then it's put on a 45-second cooldown, as it seems. Nice to see that you see the immediate cooldown there, and now she already has 2 stacks. On 4 stacks, she evolves and becomes, well, gains more range, and every single stack afterwards buffs her abilities by a certain amount. Like, it's going to be really fun. So yeah, we'll just take a quick look after this gameplay, how her abilities properly function, then we hop over into the next one. The next mark, already spawning on the chickens, and don't worry, I've got you covered. We'll talk about how this mark logic works, so you always know where these potential marks can be spawning. On tempo here, invading enemy red buff, basically on spawn, making it very, very difficult for the enemy to do anything. Yes, it's an AI game, but it doesn't really matter. It would be very similar in a normal game, since she has such high damage. Now having 4 marks secured, you see that her range is slowly increasing. And her attack speed, even though she doesn't really have anything right now, is going really crazy, which you've already seen in level 1. Having decent kill, but look at the range of the second ability, it's so massive. And for Kindred, I don't really know which approach we'll go for. If we'll go for like a sudden impact approach. Sudden impact Youmuu's Ghostblade has been very powerful ever since, so it's not too unlikely that this is going to be really, really powerful. But yeah, we have to see. As for the jungle here, you see it's pretty decent. It's not really slow. It's most of the time linked to her second ability when it comes to like these AoE camps, like the chicken camp. But outside of that, it's pretty good. since she has auto attack resets, execute bonus damage, and yeah, so she's quite a decent farmer as well as a hyper carry scaling champion that, if allowed to scale into the late game with a lot of marks, will actually have a range that is going to be insane. And if you think about the potential damage this champion does, giving her more and more range as well as a spell with ultimate ability that makes her literally invulnerable, you might be very surprised how much this champion can do. But yeah, generally speaking, for damage numbers, this champion's damage on PC was absolutely bonkers. It was really, really, really crazy. And thanks to its steward, I have the numbers of all the spells, so I'll showcase them as well. And also there's a link to its steward socials, or rather his YouTube channel in the description below as well, because, well, he provided me with the stuff, so I'm very thankful for that one. And obviously, you help a brother out, that's how it goes. And I'm just curious to see in this game how much damage the Kindred can do in what kind of a speed. Because think about this, if your first ability is an auto attack reset, you can auto attack, first ability auto attack, and gain pretty big value of Kraken Slayer. So it's very interesting to see then how fast this will be the case. Because on PC you played Lethal Tempo for a long time or Conqueror, and given how this champion functions, Conqueror is also probably a valid choice. But with Kraken being as overtuned as it is, I think Kraken is gonna just take the cake here. It's too good. HP-wise, she looks relatively squishy. I wonder if taking Overgrowth will be a thing that is required, or if you rather want to pick up Precision Tree into Domination Tree. And you play like full Glass Cannon and just hope, yeah, you just hope that you're fast enough with the ultimate ability, because if you're not, you will just dissipate. But yeah, pretty high damage to be expected of such a fat champion. But if you think about ranged champions aren't committal. And not being committal means that you have higher possibility of carrying with less risk involved. Because look at the damage with just the auto attacks, not even a single ability. It's just a typical ranged thing, right? And with that being the case, it is very, very powerful. Look at the burst damage combos, like auto attack, Q auto attack. If you do it into a wall, it's going to be similar to Evade, but your champion actually deals damage. Sadly, you don't see the attack speed steroid uptime on your first ability, which is kind of sad, but yeah. Now with the mark count being 7, you see it spawns on blue buff, which is like very interesting, right? Because it spawns on different camps, and there's logic behind it. And do not worry, I'll link the breakdown of the abilities and the mark time in the description below, so you can just skip there and take a look at it, because it will be very, very important for you to understand how this works to pilot this champion efficiently. But personally, I probably think this champion will be very powerful with Sudden Impact and Youmuu's Ghostblade. This collector purchase is like in a similar way, because if you have Sudden Impact, it will be very powerful, right? But collector always feels kind of bad, and Youmuu's Ghostblade allows you to just be on the map constantly, and the attack speed surge is also very powerful. Collector, on the other hand, doesn't really scale outside of granting you crit. But you see the range already. He's just blasting that guy from Narnia range, like you're now a Tristana, kind of. And it's only gonna get worse for the enemy. And I really wonder what the typical mark count is gonna be if you played right. Because it didn't look like the Senna needed time to, like, if you mark a player, I'll just take a look at it again, it didn't look like that marking a player took a lot of time to just get the mark on top. I wonder if you can do it during a fight, I need to pay attention to this again, and like get the mark for free. Look at the damage, like look at the burst damage without being committal at all. Yes, she's 14-0 or was 12-0 at that point, and it's an AI game, but being a ranged champion that's not committal, it's so crazy. And I'm curious to see if, like I have 3 builds in my mind right now, like a Youmuu's Ghostblade into crit transition, a full crit one, and a bruiser one. And with the changes to Trinity Force and Black Cleaver, there might be a high possibility that if Kindred has enough base stats or base AD, that she might be played as a bruiser utilizing the Trinity Force procs over and over again to just really dish out damage while being a lot tankier. Because if you have Cleaver and Trinity Force on your item selection, you gain, I think, 650 health if I'm not mistaken, or is it a little bit more? Trinity Force is 250, Black Cleaver is 400 if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you have a lot of HP that you usually wouldn't have. And very important, as the game goes on, I think if your range gets too high, you will just pick up Runan's Hurricane, no? Runan's Hurricane will just be the play. And any type of cooldown reduction items will also automatically help you have low cooldown on your second ability, which then as a result will lead to you having a low cooldown on your first ability because it's lowered with your second ability's zone. But yeah, like the damage you can do, even if a magnetic blast, if you just auto attack, Q auto attack, like forward, is going to be so crazy. Look at the range. Look at the range. This is just absolutely nuts. The ultimate looks kind of weird though. It looks kind of hard to see. And relatively small compared to the second ability. I mean, to be fair, they have to make it at least like this because this would be otherwise just way too broken, no? It would be just way too broken. Oh my. And goodbye, brother man. Feels bad, man. And what I'm also curious about is... Oh, they just moved the gameplay. It's bad, man. What I'm also curious about is... how much attack speed do you need on this champion? Do you really want Zerker Greaves? And do you also want Alacrity? Or do you want something else? Do you want Gluttonous Greaves and Alacrity? Or do you want Bloodline and... Zerker Greaves? Do you want to swap them? Because having both of one seems kind of weird unless your champion has enough attack speed, but in this case, since he has such high attack speed, I wonder if the sustain path, like double healing with Bloodline and Gluttonous, might not just be straight up better. But on the flip side, given that Kindred has a tool that makes her survive, maybe she doesn't even need Gluttonous that early, and it's just fine. And if you're wondering, her second ability also periodically, which you see in the bottom part of the video, like the 100 stacks. Let me whip out the epic pen, because I think that's easier to just showcase this kind of thing. You see this number here going higher. This number is an indicator for a next auto attack to heal her. And this number here is the stack count, as you know. And yeah. Another thing that's very, very, very important is understanding that your champion still is very fragile, right? A big combo you can do is, if you fight within your ultimate, you just place your third ability, like this ability, onto an enemy champion. It requires you to hit 3 times, so you stack it twice before the ultimate runs out, and the enemy, which is then 20% HP, or like 15 or 10%, and is then healed by your ultimate, is still below the execution threshold, and as you apply the third stack of your third ability, she just soloed Nash. Lamau. As you apply the third stack of your third ability, you will then execute them instantly. But I want to go back for a second. I want to see the Wolf's damage onto the Nasher, because this was kind of crazy, no? Like, we see the Wolf popping up. The Wolf kind of demolishes Nasher. Look at the damage to Nasher. She just doesn't care. Just dissipates instantly. Yeah, I know she's very fat, but this damage is kind of crazy, given she also has the Mark of the Baron debuff. That is nutty. I see that we might... Okay, to be fair, since she's a ranged carry champion that is fragile, I think her win rate will be similarly as low as Talon's, because people need to learn the champion. And after a few changes and buffs, the champion will be absolutely broken, because the mastery curve sets in, as well as the champion getting random stats because it's not performing well. And then we have another Talon incident where the champion now is insanely broken, but in reality... not too many things have changed for really good Talon players. The champion just got a lot, just a little bit better. Well, a little bit. You were allowed to use range combo spells. You were allowed to have higher 80 scalings, but yeah, you still one-shotted people regardless. It was just about how you use them, and the biggest buff to everything was, theoretically speaking, the cooldown buff on your first ability. So yeah, but if you play Crit Talon, you don't really need to hit combos anymore, and yeah. Well, technically speaking, that was a pentakill, so, well, it's time for a clickbait pentakill, and you best believe I'm going to do it. And now let's talk about the abilities. Mr. Lovely Steward sent me all the abilities, so we'll just go through them. And first up, we have Kindred's passive ability. We'll just start with Soul of the Kindred buff. This is translated from the Chinese PB client, so keep in mind translations are not, well, quite to be taken literally, but yeah, the numbers should be correct. Okay. Creatures bearing Kindred's mark will become Kindred's prey, causing an additional 20% damage to small monsters with marks, Crimson Mark Tree monsters, and the Blue Glyph Golem, so basically every jungle camp. Imprint generation methods include automatic refresh. The mark is applied to the wild monster, automatically refreshed every 30 seconds on the minimap. The logic behind this, which I'll explain to you right now, the logic behind this is the following. The logic behind this is on 0 marks, it's going to be the Scuttle. So I'll just hop into this here. Okay. So on, wait, let me even go earlier. I think that's better. So the first mark is going to be here. If it's 0 marks, it will always be a Scuttle Crab. Now we have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 is going to be Scuttle, Chickens, or Gromp. Now we go over to 4 to 7, okay? 4 to 7 marks. 4 to 7 marks include red buff. It includes blue buff. It includes wolves and croc. Now we go over to 8+. 8+ marks. It is going to be Rift Herald, Baron Nashor, which is the same, Elemental Dragons, and Elder Dragons. So, if this happens, that you're on 8 marks, you will no longer gain marks on anything but these objectives, or the marks you gain from kills. Okay. Now, each time you participate in defeating a prey while you mark the enemy champion, you strengthen yourself and your abilities. After obtaining 3 layers of marks, the attack distance will be increased by 75, so it's not 4 in fact, and each subsequent 3 layers of marks will provide 25 attack distance for itself, so you gain 25 attack range. Mark enhancements effect on skills. Dance of Arrows, your first ability, increases the attack speed by an additional 10%, 5% mark layer. I'm not pretty sure if that is supposed to be like, what is this supposed to mean? Does it increase 10 per stack? Does it increase 5 per stack? The translation is a little bit wonky here if I'm mistaken. Or if it's just about the bigger thresholds, like every 3. Like every 3 you have the big increasements, and every +1 you have the smaller increasements. So I don't really know. Wolf Frenzy causes 2% of the current health as additional damage. Oh no, maybe it's just that is the default part. We just look at it in a second after. Wolf Frenzy causes 2% of the current health as additional damage, 1% of the mark layer. So I assume that with every mark you gain is +1%. And Absolute Fear, Kindred's third ability, deals 2% of the missing health as additional damage, 1% for every mark stack. So now we have the first ability. Okay, kind of interesting because now we see like this number here. We have a roll in a direction, fires arrows up to 3 targets, causing 348 physical damage, 140 plus 80% physical damage. You see the flat damage in the bottom below, like level 1, 65, 290, 315, and 440, and increasing attack speed by 45%. And increasing attack by 45%, attacks, okay, like, I think that's a translation issue, I do not know, because I think it is like this, and it increases the attack speed. When the wolf is in a frenzy state, the cooldown time of this ability will be shortened to 2 seconds. PBE, by the way. Now the second ability, called Wolfmania in this translation here, passive. When moving and attacking, you will gain layers of hunter heroism. When reaching 100 layers based on the lost health and your own level, the next attack will restore health. The health restoration is obviously here 0, because we're in the fountain and level 1, so I don't really know how it scales, but yeah, we'll see that in the game. Active ability. Circle a territory and order the wolf spirit to bite the last target attacked by the sheep spirit. Well, the last target you auto-attack, so you're Kindred, you're the sheep spirit. If you attack somebody, the wolf will attack it. The wolf spirit causes magic damage, which is equal to 40 plus 20% additional plus 20% plus 1.5% plus 1% per mark percentage of the enemy's current health. The wolf spirit causes 100% damage to the wild monsters and nearby wild monsters, and applies a 50% movement speed reduction to it, which lasts 2 seconds, which is easier to then kite people with. When the health value is lower than 30%, the recovery amount reaches the maximum. So it depends on your missing HP, how much you heal from that ability. Fall of Fear, which is Kindred's execute ability, and a third ability. Applies a 50% movement speed reduction, which scales with the mark layer, as it seems. Within 4 seconds after attacking the target, the third attack will lead the wolf spirit to pounce on the target, causing physical damage equal to 155 plus 80% extra of your AD, plus maximum HP of the enemy's target, maximum missing HP of the enemy's target. The wolf spirit will also cause additional physical damage to enemies with health points below like a certain threshold, and the damage is equal to 155 plus 80% plus then nearly double the enemy's missing HP, because we have a direct jump from 8 to 14 plus 1 plus 1.6. So this will get to roughly double, if not more, later. Okay. The wolf spirit pounce can cause up to 400 damage to wild monsters based on the lost health. So it has a cap for monsters, making smiting not as easy as you might think it is. Because you can do the same thing, or could have done the same thing with Nasher, because now we move over to the important part. The sheep inhabitant, which I think is called the Lamb's Respite. It's her ultimate ability, and the sheep spirit or Kindred blesses the ground under her feet for 3 seconds, preventing any unit from within it from dying. When the health value drops below 10% or to 10%, the units within the blessing will not receive any damage or healing effect. So you can't heal them and you can't damage them. They are locked on 10%. When the blessing ends, all units within it will recover 350 health points, which is scaling because you see it in the bottom part. What does this mean? Look. When the blessing ends, all units within will recover 350 health points, and the unit itself will recover an additional one. Okay, you're just gaining extra. Okay, you'll just gain extra healing. Maybe this will also go for your teammates. I don't really know because translation. But yeah, but the combo is going to be if you're both low HP, like 10%, 10%, you pop your ultimate, like you pop your fourth ultimate, then you apply the third ability to a target. You will hit it 2 times, so it's 2 of 3, and then once this ultimate disappears, the enemy will still be below the threshold of your third ability, and then you just blast them and hit them with the third stack of your third ability, and they just die. GG's. As usual, take a look in the description below to spot all the games, spot all those channels we have, and all the content they do. Look at the selection he has. He goes with a slightly different setup than the other guy. 24 stars, utilizing the powerful low cooldown of the first ability, which is 2 seconds then, and the Spellblade cooldown is 1.5. A very powerful combination. Bloodthirst, a very high AD item. Very good conversion of just getting more sustain. Other items we have attack speed boots, we have Magnetic Blaster, i.e. Immortal Reminder. There might be a world in which you exchange this for Runon's Hurricane, or yeah, just generally think about what else you do need. For runes, here we have Lethal Tempo, very powerful scaling. The question is, will you actually get high value from this, because the fight will not be long enough. Triumph, not really a good item on low HP champions. I'd rather go for Brutal or Gathering Storm if you choose to go for this type of build. Coup de Grace, nice synergy with your third ability, but technically speaking, you will rather want to have Giant Slayer because the overall value is higher. Alacrity, really good pickup here. Now the question comes back, which we asked ourselves earlier, if we want to combine Alacrity and the attack speed boots to have super high attack speed, but with the lack of sustain, because here the sustain will only come in on the second item. Another very powerful thing, because we have 100% uptime, is going to be sudden impact, because we proc it with our first ability continuously. So we have a lot of extra pen, like 13 extra pen on both damage types, which is going to be very powerful to have. And we want to run flash as per usual. Okay, now into this video by the lovely content creator. Starting with the second ability, you see the wolf does a decent amount of damage just chomping away. It's basically a second auto attack, leading the Kindred to have a very fast first camp clear. Nicely transitioning camps here, fighting the ping here, kind of difficult to do so. When you play ranged champions, it's so hard to properly kite them. But you see, second ability, very, very good. I'm just curious to see the jungle clear speed of starting with the croc camp, and then being able to kite them properly because you have better ping. And it's going to be mandatory to have camps close to each other to make sure that the camps stay at the same time. And you can just utilize your range beautifully. And another thing, another trick you can utilize is an early smite into your third ability proc, so you have higher execute damage. But very nice, he's leashing these camps closer to each other, but keep in mind, high ping, it's going to be very, very difficult to do so properly, so cut the man some slack. Decent clear, so even on a high ping clear, he did 5 camps in 136. So the mark, the marks, as I mentioned earlier, like I needed to take a look at it, the mark takes some time to settle in, giving you a bit of time to actually counteract that play, and maybe not just down the spot, because you know the Kindred is ganking you. Given her clear speed, I think she might be a very top contender for the jungle clear and just general jungle scaling. The only issue is like her issue might be she might be too vulnerable against the meta champions. That might kill her too fast. So it will be a battle of if she can clear fast enough to gain early advantages and early access to level 5, gain the base stats, and get good tempo to then get the game rolling. Because a Kha'Zix can always one-tap you if you don't pay attention, if you don't have your ultimate ability. A Hecarim can literally push you out of your ultimate ability. A Talon can one-tap you and then just jump away with his parkour. A Lee Sin can kick you out of your ultimate ability. Like, all of these champions are still very broken picks that you have to keep in mind. And they're like the meta picks that you always want to pick. Like, if you want to climb playing jungle, you play Evelynn, you play Kha'Zix, you play Lee Sin, you play Hecarim, you play Talon. And I think Kindred will be good, but she will not be as broken as these other champions are until they maybe overbuff her again, similar to Talon. Which, well, he got a slight nerf onto his jungle clear, but if we are truly honest, what does it do? It doesn't really do anything. We see the mark logic applying here. We have 2 marks. 2 marks means that the Gromp can be marked. Gromp is marked. We have a 1v1 scenario against the Kha'Zix here, dealing a lot of burst damage to the Kindred. But yeah, it's not going to be enough. Next mark is secured. And there'll be a 4th mark as well, like empowering the abilities even more. Just think about this. If your first ability gains 10 attack speed per mark stack, it would be close to a 500 gold value, by the way. That is insane. And now he has to wait. Ooh, the Lulu ult. Oh, the bot just did some little shenanigans. Forcing the ult here. The bots don't really know the abilities, I guess. Feels bad, man. But we have a lot of damage. Look at the attack speed popping up with the lethal tempo. But I feel like lethal tempo in the jungle is probably not the thing for WildRift. I think it's probably going to be Kraken. You'll have higher value with Kraken. Because you want to deal as much upfront damage as possible to get them to the execution threshold as fast as possible. Yeah. I think that will be the play. Now we have 5 marks, which means the blue buff or the red buff can be marked, which you see on the minimap. It happens, the blue buff is marked. So the mark logic checks out, and therefore we know how the mark system is going to function. Picking up the 24s, cutting away the downtime, pretty nice of him. Now we see the damage of Trinity Force granting even more attack speed and these Spellblade procs. Trinity Force could also be a very good first pickup. Having such a low damage spell, like a low cooldown damage spell that you spam, is an indicator that Trinity Force is really a good option if your champion has base AD. Also provides Kindred with other stats she really wants: attack speed, movement speed, HP, an okay amount of AD. But it will all come down to just her tankiness, I think, because this is a more tanky approach, as you see, a lot tankier than the previous gameplay we have seen. And here we just see an instant kill, like, come on now, you just hop out, bye-bye, yoink, and eaten alive. But the mark wasn't settled yet, so he did not gain a mark for this kill. Look at the attack speed popping off so fast. I really wonder how crazy this champion can be, and if they actually mess up the balancing because obviously, right, in the first week, a champion, unless he's ridiculously easy to play, will have low win rate. And every carry champion, since the champion is more vulnerable to just dying because they're weaker stat-wise, they just die if they just get CC chained, will have a low win rate. Talon used to be the same because he's not very durable. His combo was very committal, and if he missed a combo, he wouldn't kill. Unless you were building a different item build, and you probably weren't clearing the jungle as fast as you could. Like, all of these options apply. So the same thing could be said about Kindred, because a ranged champion that is not necessarily easy to pilot, AD carries are always fragile, might just be killed by the meta junglers on cooldown, and therefore you get the impression that Kindred is weak. But if you think about this, if you play against mains of Kha'Zix, mains of Lee Sin, mains of Evelynn, and all of these champions that have made these champions for eons, and you just played your second game of Kindred in the first week of Kindred being released, I guess losing doesn't even sound so abnormal. And then suddenly we start hotfix buffing champions, and suddenly Kindred gains a lot more stuff than she already has. So it's going to be very crazy. And look at the tool of a second ability gaining so much zone control that you can just piss people off on the tower. I really wonder if you can play this champion in the Baron lane, if this is an option. On PC, you also used to play Kindred in the Baron lane, or in the Dragon lane, sorry, in the AD carry lane, with a Taric. Because the Taric, if you're not familiar, can just use a linear cast stun. And since Kindred can always hop forward, they can almost always guarantee that the stun connects, and then they have such high base damage that they just end up killing you. So it would be such a crazy thing. Money in the bank, Bloodthirster into the pockets, not buying boots, Mochak? Attack speed goes so high, you're almost feeling like a Tristana. I'd really love for him to take a quick look at the stack, and if the stacks actually tell you what kind of a buff you gain now, so we can get all the confusion from earlier away about how these spells function. That would be pretty cool. Look at him space gliding. Pew 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 pew. You love to see it, don't you? The Tryndamere. Ah, spotted a Tristana. The mark system, like, that they have introduced a new button is very important, because otherwise with the layout it would not be possible. Couldn't press ultimate because of ping. Classic. I really want to play this champion, and I really want it to be released right now, and just see how good it is in a real environment. Because we can always debate, like, a champion is decent or okay, given the stats we see, or the abilities, or the kit. Like, for example, Hackerum's kit was, like, very broken, like, just by looking at it, right? And the only way it could be made too weak is if the numbers are just awful. Like, remember the Kayn saga, where we had Kayn getting buffed up to a point where his passive literally deals double the damage of what it did on release or something? On Blue Kayn? And all these changes? Oh my god, this is not a situation you want to be in. Poor guy. Boop! And the Lulu is gone. The mark didn't even get down. The chase down potential is also quite interesting from this champion. But I really hope they'll at least wait one extra week until they hotfix or change this champion. Because I think it's so dangerous to just do it after 1 week. Because, like, you know, talent got instantly changed again after a brief time. The change isn't really that impactful because the HP, like the camps of the HP of the camps in the jungle were always at a very interesting threshold anyway. So unless you go for your second side of the jungle, you barely lose any time already. So I think effectively you lose like 3 seconds, which is not going to make or break a champion. When Yone is still being played, when his jungle clear is like one of the slowest in the entire game, because Riot identified correctly, this champion was very toxic in the jungle department and it needed to be nerfed. And yeah, I think we will see more talent nerfs very soon, because I don't think the champion is balanced at all. Look at that, look at the blast of it. Yeah, he just, the Teemo. Poor Teemo. Look at him, and blinded. This must be one of the worst feelings possible. If you're like a Gatling gun shooting like 50 billion rounds a second, and then every single shot is like miss, 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 and you're like, are you serious right now? Oh, the Kha'Zix just jumps over the corner, but they don't fully commit, sadly. Pops the ultimate a little bit early to make sure he doesn't just die randomly. Look at the healing. So, I assume it, since I didn't see ally healing yet, it's just for her, or like Kindred, the extra healing. Interesting that Kindred gains an additional amount of health, making it easier for her to just recuperate after a fight. And, very important, if the healing of the ultimate, if you have anti-healing applied on an enemy, is also reduced, because it might be counted as bonus health temporarily. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Check out the channels in the description below, and we'll see each other for more RiftGuides content very soon. See ya.